Hey guys, happy Friday. Hope you all have a great weekend filled with things that you love and that you enjoy to do. Anyway, I wanted to share a story with you guys heading into the weekend, and this is one of the more powerful stories where I've seen the goodness of God in the land of the living, which is what I told you I wanted to talk about when we started the vlog, was just finding his goodness every day because it's there. And so a few years back, we had cleaned out our garage and we had loaded up our van with a few things that we were going to give to Salvation Army, and didn't want to have a garage sale, didn't want to do all that. And so we had loaded some stuff up and we had driven downtown and pulled up and had my van loaded, and I happen to glance over from the passenger side and I see this woman. Our Salvation Army here in town is a place where you can drop things off, but it's also a shelter if you don't have somewhere to stay for the night. And so there was this woman sitting on the steps, and I'm assuming she was sitting there. She had a bag beside her, she had a book, and I'm assuming she was waiting there for a bed. And so I look over and her eyes lock with mine. My husband is out unloading the car and my kids are too. And I just, her eyes lock with my eyes, and she smiled and I smiled. And I don't know, do you ever just see someone and their face is just kind of emblazed in your memory? I don't know. It was just this moment. It was this passing moment. And I don't know her and she doesn't know me, but I don't know. It was just kind of like a screenshot of her face, which just kind of stuck with me. And so anyway, they finished unloading before I could even get out. We didn't have a lot, and we drove off and went about our life. About probably 4 or 5 weeks later, my husband and I were in Norman. It was a Saturday morning. It was early. We were driving to Norman to do our certification classes to become certified to do foster care. And this had been something we had been praying about. I had been praying about for 4 years. I mean, consistent prayer. And I'm going to talk about that in another vlog. But finally, we had, made some preparation. We were moving that way. And this class was kind of the last thing that had to fall into place. And then we could open our home. So it was like we finished this class and then they got a certificate and then you could open your home to foster kids. And so we're driving up there, and it's an all-day class. We did ours in I can't remember if it was like one Saturday or maybe it was 2 Saturdays. I can't remember. And so we went in and we go to this class, and it's hard, and the information they present is hard. There's just no way to sugarcoat this. What these kids go through is beyond anything that my almost 37-year-old brain can comprehend. And a lot of what we were talking about that morning was trauma, the different kinds of trauma that a child endures that is placed in foster care, and what it takes to care well for a child that is in foster care, and different techniques and different it was a lot of information. This is what you do, this is what you don't do, here's a case study, what would you do, role playing. And so anyway, we broke for lunch about noon, and my husband and I got in the car, and I was just completely overwhelmed. I think he was too, but again, I said in the last vlog, he's the polar opposite of me. I guess that's why it works. And he's usually just very steady. And so we didn't say a lot, but inside, I was just feeling very inadequate. Like I didn't bring the right gifts to the table here to be of any use to these kiddos. I don't know about this kind of trauma. I don't have any professional training on how to deal with this. I was just feeling very overwhelmed, and I'm a history major. That's what I went to school for, and we research. And so I'm like, during the class, I'm like entrenched in this research. They gave us so much, and I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't read any of this. I'm so ill prepared. I don't have anything to give to this. What am I thinking? And so we go to lunch, and I'm kind of sharing this with my husband. And of course, he's just, Holly, and trying to talk me down, basically, and just breathe and, calm down. And so we go to Subway and we're eating, And we finish lunch and we get in the car and we're driving back. And I look out my window as we're driving back and I see the woman from the Salvation Army. And she's sitting in front of a building that was kind of across the side street from Subway. And we're driving in the opposite way here. And I just grabbed my husband's arm and I said, that's the lady from Salvation Army. I need to go back. And I don't really even know where it came from. I just assumed that if her face was locked in my mind well enough that I would know that that was her, and we had had that moment, I just felt like in my spirit that I was supposed to go to her. And so Sammy's like, what? And I said, yeah, we need to turn the car around. Like, I need to talk to this woman. And my husband is just used to me, I suppose. And so he did. He turned the car around and we had to kind of, go back the other way. And he pulled in the parking lot and he said, what are you going to do? Are you just going to go up to this woman? And I said, yeah, I think I am. And so I got out of the vehicle. I got out of the car. She was waiting and she had her things there. And I just walked up to her and I said, do you remember me? And she said, I remember your smile. I smiled at her. And I said, I remember yours too. And she said, you were in Shawnee. You had a silver van. And I said, yes, I am. And I said, and your face has been in my memory. And when I saw you, I just felt like I had to come talk to you. And so I said, what are you doing here? And so she proceeded to tell me her story, which was this beautiful story of knowing the Lord and coming across a very hard time in her life with family and different various choices that she had to make. And she was between jobs and had found herself homeless. And there were some other issues going on, but I feel like that's her story and she should tell those pieces. But she shared it with me shortly, and I knew then that she knew the Lord. And she said, it's so funny that we would see each other again. I said, it really is. I said, but it's so nice to see you. And I said, and I don't really know why I stopped. I just felt like I needed to. And I said, but could I pray with you before I go? Could I just pray for you? She had a new job opportunity and she was staying at a new kind of a Christian nonprofit there in Norman. And she said, sure. So I put my hands on her and I prayed. And she was just affirming as I was praying. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'll see you later. And I started to walk off. And she said, hey, why are you in Norman? You live in Shawnee. And I said, oh, well, we're here. We're taking a class to get certified as foster parents. And she smiled really big. And she looked at me and she said, you really put people at ease and you take the time. That's what you have. That's good. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. And I got in the car and we went back and went in and started the second lesson. And as I started to feel overwhelmed, I heard her voice in my head. As I started to think, I have nothing to offer. I have nothing. I could hear, you put people at ease and you took the time. That's what you have. And it reminded me of when Jesus feeds the 5,000. If you want to go and read that, it's in the Gospels. And I love this story for so many reasons, but one of the things I realized that afternoon was he said to the disciples, what do you have? What do they have? And they had collected what they had, this little bit of fish and a little bit of bread, and they had to feed all these multitudes of people. And he took what they had, and he looked up to heaven, and he gave thanks for just what was there. And God multiplied it. It multiplied. And it was like in that room that afternoon, God was saying to me, just give what you have. You have something. Are you willing to give it? I will multiply it and I will use it and it will feed who it is supposed to feed and the leftovers will do with what we're supposed to. But will you offer what you have? And we will give thanks for that right there on the altar and watch me do work. You see, we had prayed and we had prayed and we had prayed and we knew very clearly we were supposed to be taking this class, and that while it's true we didn't bring professionalism and we didn't bring a lot of research and we didn't have anything that anybody else doesn't have, we had something. And God took what we had and he multiplied it. And through that time in our lives, he allowed 11 beautiful children to come in and out of our home for various reasons. And we just kept giving what we had. And so I guess what I want to say by that story is, one, there are people, if you think that anything is coincidental, it's not. There aren't coincidences, I don't think. But there is a big, powerful God who cares deeply about every detail of your life. And he used a lady that I didn't know to speak something I very much needed to hear right at that moment. And he can do that because he cares intimately about my life and your life. And number two, all he asks is that you give what you have. You may be standing on this side of a very, very scary situation where you don't think you have what it takes to walk up through that. You have something. Give it to the multiplier. Give it to the one who can give thanks and break it open and spread it out for a purpose. We all have something to offer. And when we offer that to God, the great multiplier, we start to see miracles happen, and we get to be a small part of them. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.